This is the GeoSketch tools video for the texture copy tool. In the video for the texture face tool, we went to this building and redid the textures on this face. In the case of this face, we did it to remove the obscuring building from the texture, and in this case we did it because there is some skewing to the texture due to an error in the orientation matrix of the camera model, and we straightened out the corners so that we got a better mapping of the texture. Now in this case we use the texture copy tool, and we're prompted to select the face that we want to copy the texture from, and in this case I'll select this texture, and we're prompted as to whether we want to preserve the mapping for the texture. In the case of textures that come from aux views, we will always want to say yes. So it highlights that face in red. Next we want to select the face that we want to copy the texture to. So I can say that since this building is symmetrical, I'll do the other side of it using that same texture, and now we've copied the texture from the one side to the other. And we can continue selecting faces to copy that texture to, but in this case I want to select a new copy, and I'll hit the escape key to return to the beginning of the tool. So in this case I will select this face and say yes, I want to preserve the mapping, and I'll apply it as a copy over here. So now the four side faces of this building have been retextured so that they line up and have no obscuring, or at least very little obscuring. It looks like there's something there. But we also have the ability, if I hit escape and return to the beginning of the tool, to gray out certain textures. If you decide that some textures just aren't appropriate, maybe they don't have good information in them, then we can use the tab key as a toggle to say we're going to gray out these faces, and you can just select the face and it grays it out. And just as with the texture editing of the texture face tool, all these things will remain in effect even if we retexture the model. So if I select the face and say in the texturing menu to retexture all the faces of this building, it won't change any of these because it sees that we have edited them and it doesn't want to overwrite the edits. However, if we go and use the texturing tool and do auto texture all, then it will retexture all of them using the original criteria, and we're back to having the faces that are obscured. Now one more example of using the copy texture tool. We'll go back to our roof sampler model. It just has a little sampler of roof textures, and we'll build a new pitched roof building, and I'll change it to a hip roof. So now, for example, we can use the copy texture to copy a texture from this sampler over to this new building. So I use the copy texture tool. Now in this case, if we say yes to preserving the mapping and we apply it to this, the texture gets stretched, which is undesirable. So I do Control Z to undo that operation, and I'll select, and then this time I will say no, I don't want to preserve the mapping of the texture. So when we place it on there, it preserves its scale. So the no option is useful for when you have repeating textures or textures that have a scale to them. So that completes the texture copy tool.